Welcome to the Color of Influence podcast, where you will hear conversations from influential people of color from around the world, from social media, and right here in your communities. These behind-the-scenes conversations will motivate you, inspire you, and encourage you. I am your host, Aisha Morgan, and let's meet today's guest. Today's guest is fellow podcaster Earnest James. Earnest has a podcast called Deal to Heal, and he also has several ebooks. Today we are going to get into each one of these things, and you guys can check him out on his website at www.dealhealfulfill.org and check out his ebooks at ebooksbyejames.com. All of this information will be in our show notes, so let's get right into my conversation with Earnest James. Okay, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I am here with Earnest James. And if you guys remember, I feel like it wasn't that long ago, but it was probably like a year ago. Earnest, myself, and Kashif, we all did a podcast together episode. It was pretty cool. We just kind of let the conversation flow just to test some things out, and it came out pretty good. So today is just Earnest and I, and we are going to be talking about his podcast as well as some of his ebooks and how you guys can book him for some speaking engagements. So Earnest, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll get right into our conversation.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm going to say everybody and everyone. I just put them together. So, hey, y'all. I am Earnest James. I am a podcaster, speaker, and author. At my core, I'm just a person who loves people. And so I kind of spend my life, part of my life at least, trying to help people in any way that I can. So in a nutshell, that's me.
Sounds good. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast?
My podcast is called Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Okay. And where on the podcast, my guest and I just talk about issues in every area of life, right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to have the platform, I wanted to have the podcast to be able to address different issues that, people were having and to be able to bring some kind of solution to it. And I knew that I have not been through everything, and neither do I want to go through everything. Right. So I can speak on what I've been through, and then just invite others on to be on for whatever they've been through and have overcome, to be able to speak to people who may be going through the same thing. And so that was the premise of the podcast. That is the premise of the podcast. The only episode that was kind of different was our episode, which was episode 19, which me, you, and Kashif. And I've been thinking about doing another one. It was called the Podcast Playground, is what I called it. Right, yeah. And I was thinking about doing another one with some other guys, but I don't know. I'm gonna see. I'm should be going into probably within a few months. We'll be going into season 3. Okay. And so I'm gonna do a little. I'm gonna do. So I had a conversation with someone, and hope I'm not going rambling too far. Go ahead. So I had a conversation with someone recently, and we was talking about. So this at the time of this recording, I'm actually celebrating 52 episodes.
Yes, which is 1 year I love it.
So
congratulations.
Thank you. So what I did, I had someone come on and interview me on my podcast.
Oh, and so, I like that.
Afterwards, we were having a conversation, about the podcast and about guests and things. And what she said to me was, you should have as one guest that you need to have that you don't really have. And I was like, who is that? And she was like, you. And she was like, you need to do more episodes when it's just you. Yeah. Because most of my episodes, I do have other people on. And I was like, you know what? Okay, cool. That's, it was already a thought, but especially after it was pointed out, I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
have to do more episodes with just me, so at least maybe once a month, I would do one, maybe the beginning of the month, I'll do one with just me, doing, when we start season 3, and
Yeah.
then go from there. So, yep.
Yeah. That's what I usually do, either the beginning of the or the end of the month. I just do like an update and I kind of talk about myself and what's going on with me. Um, and I feel like it kind of gives people an idea of like who you are as the host. Um, and I just talk.
Yeah.
And when I'm done talking, I just stop recording and post the episode. Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to do more about it. Yeah, so I once I got started, because originally I think my first 3 episodes was just me,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had episodes where it's been just me, a couple of them along
Yeah.
the way. Um, but I did get more into guests, and then thankfully, I've had a array of guests.
Yeah.
So it was like people were hitting me up to record, to be on, and so I'm like, all right, let me let me get them in and knock them out, and before you know it, you got a whole season, half
Right.
a season almost with all guests,
Mm-hmm.
and so just being intentional about it and kind of keeping track on my calendar, which is something I had to catch myself because I missed like major holidays and stuff because you just record, and then when you
Right.
start putting them out, and I look actually write them on the calendar, it's like, oh man, I miss Thanksgiving, or like a Thanksgiving episode or whatever,
Right.
because you were so busy recording, and now you passed the important date. So I'm like, all right, I have to be more intentional of when things is coming out and when I'm recording and when it's going to be released. So,
Right.
be intentional about that. So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So where do you find your guests?
Mostly on Instagram.
Okay.
Mostly on Instagram because that's just seems to be more of a community around like-minded people. I think
Yeah.
Facebook is too general or too broad,
Mm-hmm.
with people. And on Instagram, it kind of narrows it down for
Yeah.
whatever you're into. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like Facebook just gives you everything, just like here. You know what I mean? But Instagram kind of narrows it down, like, okay, what are you into? And so by doing that, generally the people that pop up on my page or in my feed are either speakers or
Mm-hmm.
authors or in the same mindset,
Right.
should I say, as myself. And so that's where I find most of them. And then whenever I have someone on, uh, when I have them fill out a guest form, I ask them for 3 people, and
Yeah.
they usually give me 3. And if those work out, then those 3 give me 3. And so I end up with a big catalog.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you sent me like your sample and I'm like, "Oh, this is so good." And then at the time, the quality of my guest was like back and forth between like people I knew and people that I just found on Instagram. Um, and so some of the guests were not people that I was interested in interviewing. So
Mhm.
I was like, I don't want to hurt like my previous guest feelings by not reaching out to some of these people after I go to their page. So I stopped doing it. I mean, I feel like our podcasts are a little bit different. So,
Yeah.
for me, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. But it's the same thing with me because I do get some people that, so again, the premise of my podcast is you've dealt with some kind of issue that you've
Yeah.
overcome, and you can help someone that's going through that same issue, right?
Got it.
So
Okay.
I do get people that recommend, oh, here's my cousin.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does he do? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what have you overcame? Like, and then I go and look at their page, and I'm like, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. You
Right.
know, so you don't have to, I had someone tell me, Just because somebody gives you a cookie don't mean you got to eat it.
That is true.
So
I've been
you
lucky.
get better at it as you start doing it and you start meeting people.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
can kind of pick up the energy,
Mm-hmm.
or just pick up the personality, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's better. I would hope to think that at 52 episodes I got a knack for it, by now. You know.
Yeah. Never. Okay. So tell me a little bit about how you get speaking engagements and or when you're on panels, like how do you get invited to those things for anyone interested in trying to get into that?
Well, anyone that wants to reach out to me definitely can reach out to just email me, Ernest James at dealhealfulfill.org.
Okay.
That's my email address. Hopefully my website should be coming out soon. I'm working on it. I'm tweaking it a little bit, so that should be out. But that'll be dealhealfulfill.org
Okay.
website. But the email is active.
Okay.
But definitely they can just email me and ask me to be on, or and I definitely will look into it and everything. But generally, as far as me being on panels, most of the time I just been recommended,
Okay.
and they just, hey, I've had a couple people just recommend me to other people to be a part of different panels, and I'm like, hey, I'm down, you
Yeah.
know. And so I've been doing that. As far as the speaking, I'm still outside of the church, right? So as far
Right.
as the church, I'm speaking all the time, but
Yeah.
outside of the church, trying to get into the schools, more of a public speaker,
Mm-hmm.
schools and corporate and things like that. So I'm still working on that, still tweaking it. Haven't jumped out there yet,
Right.
but I'm hoping before the end of this year, within the next couple months, to do at least two
Yeah.
schools. So it's just a matter of me getting my information together to present,
Right.
to the principal or whoever, so they can see what I do and,
Right.
go from there. The speaking part is the easy part. Of course, I'm talking all the time, but
Yeah.
so that's the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
It's the meeting new people, which is one of my things because I'm actually an introvert. And one of my, I don't want to say it's a fear, but it is, but it's not,
Yeah.
is meeting new people. So part of my affirmations that I say every morning, my daily affirmations, I say, today I will introduce myself to someone new. I don't always do it, but I speak it,
Yeah.
and that's the intention. But it's I don't know what it is. Like if I meet someone, once the conversation is started,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. But initiating a conversation to just walk up to someone and say, hey, my name is Ernest, or whatever. I don't know why I have a fear of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just something I've been trying to work through. So what I just give me a wingman. You have those people that have the bubbly personality. All right. You go get them and then introduce me and then I'll do the rest.
Yeah. So I know how to do my podcast. I know how to promote my podcast, but from here, like I don't necessarily know how to get into like someone's conference and have a booth or, speak at a conference or something like that. Um, so that's kind of, where I'm like stuck.
Well, it really is it's kind of easy, especially to get a booth. That's the easiest thing to do, because a lot of times you could just go, especially on Facebook, they have vendor websites, and they
Mm,
was like vendors, and they will post different things that's coming up, and a
yeah,
lot of vendors hold their own events
yeah,
to sell and have other vendors there, which is similar, like you were saying, to do your own event. And
right.
so you will be the one saying, hey, this is my event and I'm looking for 20 vendors, and just put it out there on Facebook or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
people who do it will definitely jump on it. And especially if you get in communities, as far as like authors or speakers communities,
Yeah,
most speakers have books. And so they'll come and sell their books. Some have t-shirts.
right.
Like myself, I got the ebooks. Working on a hardcover book.
Okay.
Haven't got there yet, but working on that. So I got the t-shirts, I got the ebooks, and so once you put it out there, then someone like myself will be like, hey, definitely, I'm interested. So
Right.
I'll come, with my whole thing. But it's just putting it out there. And yeah, so I've been in consideration of, doing something. Um, I had an idea to do something this year. It didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
The other people that was involved, and so I'm like, you know what, I might just have to do it by myself, And so I got some ideas, and so I
Yeah.
might do something next year.
Okay.
So that's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the consideration.
Exactly. So now your ebooks. Tell us a little bit about your ebooks.
So I have three ebooks that's available right now
Mm-hmm.
on the website, ebooksbyejames.com. I made it really
Okay.
simple.
Yeah.
I made it really simple. Ebooksbyejames.com. I have three books that's available right now. The first one is called Forgiving Me, The Four Steps to Self-Forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I had the opportunity to do this year was to join and partner with an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And so we did and back in February, we did a free um, webinar, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
about forgiveness, and it went pretty good. And so we were in consideration. It was like, you know what, I think we should do it every quarter. And
Mm-hmm.
so we've been doing them every quarter. We had one not too long ago. We got one more for this year for the last quarter. And so in the midst of that, and having conversations with the people that were on, uh,
Yeah.
I came up with the idea of forgiving self. So we address forgiveness, forgiving self, forgiving others, and forgiveness and wellness. Right. So those are the three areas that we address. So in the midst of me, teaching, I was talking to. I had a young lady that asked me about the forgiveness of, how do you forgive yourself, and so in my explanation, I
Mm-hmm.
came up with the acronym for self when it comes to forgiveness. And so
Yeah.
the S will be season of life, the E will be emotional state, the L will be limited information, and the F will be forgiving yourself by giving yourself grace, right? And so the
Okay.
season of life will be, what was the season of life that you were in? So when we talk about forgiveness of self, is you're holding something against yourself for something that you did,
Right.
right? So you made some mistake, and it was like, oh my God, I shouldn't have did that. I knew better, and so time, could be years later, days later, whatever, but you're still holding that against yourself.
Yeah.
And so what I teach, I said, well, with the acronym for self, what was the season of life that you're in? Right. And so I take
Mm-hmm.
myself when I was younger, let's say 2021, just being young and dumb, I may have made some mistakes,
Yeah.
but now as a, 46-year-old, which is what I am now, you know, if I'm still holding myself accountable for something I did when I was in my 20s, I don't want to say it don't make sense because we all have our things that we have to deal with. But
Right.
take in consideration, what was the season of life that you were in? That was just a season. You was
Yeah.
in a young and dumb season. You know what I mean? So you can forgive yourself for that, right?
Yeah.
So the E, which would be for what was your emotional state? And so I give the example when my mom passed away. During that time period, or right in that same time period, I was going through a divorce. I
Mm.
was already dealing with depression. Um, I had my mother-in-law at the time had passed away, and we were really close. So she had passed away before my mom passed away, and then my
Okay.
mom passed away. So in that time period, I went through a deep depression, even considered suicide
Mm.
in that time period, and so that's something you have to take in consideration too when you're holding yourself, for some reason that you're holding things against. What was your emotional state when
Right.
you did whatever you did, And so as we take into consideration these different things, it just makes it easier for us to be able to look past the mistakes that we made in our past and forgive ourselves for things that we've done to ourselves.
Right.
Because again, the season of life, our emotional state, our limited information, you don't know what you don't know. And
Right. Yeah.
sometimes we make decisions based on what we think we know. But if we don't have the whole information, some of those mistakes or some of them decisions may not work out, for the best. And
Right.
so that one, then the last one, just forgive yourself by giving yourself grace, because you have to just admit that in the midst of whatever you did, you were doing the best that you could. And even if you feel that you weren't doing the best that you could, still give yourself some grace, because it'll be
Yeah.
okay. You still got time to work on it, and make things better. So that's the forgiving me. And hopefully I ain't going too long into. I said
No.
I said 3, and I'm still stuck on 1. And so the second one is called Males to Men, which is a sort of a male mentoring book, or the beginning of a male mentoring book. So when I
Okay.
first came to Instagram, one of my first pages on Instagram was a page called Man Up, which stands for Men Activating Newly Untapped Potential. And so it's a male mentor course for young men and adult men.
Yeah.
Just going over the principles of manhood, and making that journey from adolescence, into man for young
Right.
men. So that book, that ebook, is like an expert excerpt, whatever the word is. I think it's excerpt. It's like an excerpt from that program. So it kind of gives you, it's 3 steps. So it gives you 3 steps going into manhood for young men. And then my
Okay.
last one, which I'm very proud of. So um, my second page on Instagram was a page called Friend to Fatherless Daughters. And it was the Friend to Fatherless Daughters page that pushed me forward to even being asked to go live with people, asked to be on podcasts, which eventually led to me, having my own podcast.
Right.
So that it all started from there with the Friend to Fatherless Daughters, which is a platform that I started as a fatherless daughter advocate, just advocating on behalf of our fatherless daughters.
Yeah.
Because I found in my life that every woman I have ever dated have been a fatherless daughter. And so going through that, and, you know, living with them and dealing with them, there are some things that I picked up along the way,
Right.
that I recognized. And then just being a father myself, and being a young man with 5 sisters, what my dad was in the home. So having that example also, all kind of played a part in it. And I just was moved to step out there. And so I wrote the book, um the Core Four, which is the core 4 values that every daughter should receive from her father, right?
Okay.
And so it's and I hope I don't forget them. Love and affection. Because when I started doing it off the top of my head, I always forget one. Love and affection, guidance. Guidance would be the first one. Love and affection, affirmation, and protection, right?
Okay.
And so guidance, I would say guidance is more than just right and wrong, but
Right.
it may be better and best, right? So I give the example of my daughter coming to me and saying she wants to buy a car. She wanted to buy her first car, and she's saving money, because she wants to have a large down payment. So, which is a good idea.
Yeah.
But a better idea, which I told her, let's work on your credit so you don't have to have a down payment. And
Yeah.
so what I did, I shared, because I didn't know about this when I was younger, that you can put someone as an authorized user on your credit card, and that will give them your credit history.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
by my credit already being good, when I did that for my daughter, she started off with a higher credit rating than me.
Yeah.
And it was my history. I'm like, hey, how's that work?
Yeah.
So she started off with like a 7 something, close to 800 credit score at 19.
That's
So
great.
that's one of the things. Just being able to give guidance, better and worse, not better and worse, but better, good and bad, or better and best, as
Right.
a father, just giving guidance to your daughter. So that's one. Um, the love and affection definitely is to be able to show your daughter, or the daughter, stepdaughter, whoever you are in the lives of a young woman, right? So one of the things that I talk about is when I'm talking, I don't necessarily say fathers. I always say father figures, because you may not be the father.
Right.
You may be the stepdad, you may be the uncle, you may be the principal or the mentor, or whatever. But as long as you're willing to step up and be a father figure in the life of that young lady, then you can provide these core values to her. So the love and affection is just to be able to show what it is to be loved, and to feel love from a male perspective, without the um without the tricks and things like that, like to genuinely know that you're loved, right?
Yeah.
And to be affirmed. Or should I say, affirmation is the next one, but affirmation, to be affirmed, right? And I would say affirmation is telling you something you should already know about yourself, but in case you don't know, then I remind you, right? So that's when I'm telling you, you are beautiful. A father is expressing you are beautiful, you are smart, you are enough. Just being who you are, and building that self-worth and that self-esteem, in his daughters. And then the last one, the fourth one, which is protection. And we always know about the physical protection, right? So we always go there, and I talk about the scene from Bad Boys with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, when a guy comes to take out the order.
Take her on a date.
Like, yeah. So everybody already automatically goes there with the protection. But one of the other things that I say, when we're talking about protection, let's change it from protection to safety, right? So you're allowing your daughter to feel safe, and that goes in a wide array of areas, not just from the physical, but from the mental. Safe to be herself, safe to express herself, especially in this day and age, because and as you get older, you have people that will try to shut your voice off, and tell you not to talk, or you shouldn't be heard, or devalue your opinion. So when that safety is letting your daughter know you can say what you want to say, you can express yourself, you can be vocal, and you can have the strength that you need to be able to stand up in that and feel confident to speak your voice. And so those are the four core values. I go a little bit into there, and I also in that ebook talk about we have the core four, then we have the poor four, which is the opposite of the core four. So a lot of times, if a young lady doesn't have that father figure, then she will sometimes by default attract the poor four. Right. So instead of guidance, you end up with someone who's controlling. Instead of love and affection, you give someone who may be physically abusive. Instead of affirmation, you get someone who talks down to you and belittle you. And then from protection, instead of protection, again, you get someone who may be physically abusive. And so, not necessarily any fault from her own, but just kind of by default, by not having that example of what a real healthy male female relationship looks like, then they don't have anything to draw from. And unfortunately, a lot of guys can pick up on that, right? You have guys that can pick up on, oh, this is some ain't right there. She's missing something. And there are guys who prey on that, And that's so it's unfortunate, but that's kind of one of the reasons why I put out the ebook, and I address it to mothers, single mothers, fatherless daughters, but also young fathers or fathers who not necessarily haven't been in their child's life, in their daughter's life, to be like, this is what you're supposed to be providing, and so they have an idea of how to go into that relationship. So, but those are the ebooks. More to come, definitely more to come. So you guys can look out for those. Ebooks by ejames.com. Like I said, I made it really simple. So, but I got some more that I'm already,
But how do you promote your books and your podcasts?
The podcast, well, really, just on social media.
Okay.
I haven't really started running ads, and I was doing. I had some business cards made up for my
Okay.
podcast, and you know how you go to different restaurants and things like
Yeah,
that, and
and you
you have
can
all
leave it
the
in the
cards there. Yeah, so I was
Mhm.
doing that for a while too. But mostly just on social media. I definitely one of my plans is to actually goes back to something we were saying earlier, talking about events. Uh,
Yeah.
is to start doing events and have my whole setup and promote it that way also. So I'll have I have the t-shirt line, the deal to heel tees
Mm-hmm.
on Shopify. So I have my t-shirt line, then I have the ebooks. Um, yeah, so to be able to just put up a have an event space and do a booth with those things, and also promote the podcast that way. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even have Twitter, but Instagram, I got Instagram. So this week was the first week that I did the schedule post.
Mm-hmm.
So I did do the schedule post for this week. I'm gonna see how that works.
Yeah.
Uh, for Facebook at least. So it don't I don't think it may go to Instagram too. I'm gonna have to see because I don't remember if I did it like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I did it for Facebook. So
Okay.
I'm gonna see how that works. But yeah, so yeah, it's a lot to keep up with.
It is. And like
I was looking for somebody, especially when I first got started. I'm just like, look, I will pay you to do
the
this.
post, yeah.
Try to get one of my nieces and nephews to do it, but they didn't want to do it.
Because they know how much work it is.
Yeah, and then that ain't even doing like the other stuff like Patreon and putting
Right.
putting stuff on Patreon. I got a Patreon thing. I think I got 2 videos on there. I'm like, you know
Yeah,
what?
I gave up on Patreon. Somebody asked if I was going to do like a subscription on Instagram, and I'm like, no, like if I'm not getting paid on something, I don't expect y'all to pay me. Like that's weird to me. Um, I don't have like enough following to give you something separate. I barely give you the regular page. You think I'm
You know
gonna
what?
have
Yeah,
time to do a separate one for people who subscribe?
that was my thing. I'm like, you hear when people are like, you're a content creator. I'm like, I'm a podcaster. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? All that extra stuff is, I do what's
Yeah.
necessary. But each time coming up with, like you said, extra stuff and extra recording, they're like, man, that's too much. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah. Until you actually start making money from it,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of my things with it. I do it because I love it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but to really be able to devote as much time to it as I would like,
Yeah.
can't because I have to work.
Right.
And even when you're doing it, your mind is still, thinking about your other things that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love my plan and my goal is to be able to do it full time to where I'm, whether it's through YouTube or whatever, that
Yeah.
I'm making enough money where I can be like, all right, I can devote, 2 days, full days to nothing but podcasts,
Yeah.
So instead of me, like right now, I record Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. I would love to record 3 in a day and just
Yeah.
like Monday will be my day. Like, okay,
I will
3 on
say
Monday and I'm done for
that's
the
a
week.
lot. Like for me, I cannot do more than one podcast in a day. Yesterday I had two back to like one after another. It wasn't bad, but it's just like I don't feel like sitting here like again. And like you said, obviously if I'm getting paid to do it, that'll be different. I'll be like, okay, I'm about to do these three guests today and that's it, tomorrow and the next day, and then I'm done for the rest of the week and I need to edit or somebody's gonna edit it for me or whatever. But yeah, I was just like by the time I finished, I'm like, all right. But no,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's definitely a labor of love right now. And I hate to like say it, but when you write a book, whether you're a podcaster or not, it kind of gives you like leverage in things. And so, I had some ideas of how to incorporate like my podcast name and the premise into like a little book, and probably either like do an ebook and then put it on Amazon and like self-publish. I don't know why they say self-publish, because Amazon publishes it. But put it on Amazon for self-publishing and then kind of go from there. But again, then you have to find the time to like put your concept together for the book, get your notes together, write the book, hire somebody to edit or whatever you want to do. And it's
Well,
just,
I'll tell you one cheat code with the writing part of it
mm-hmm.
is if you go to, I think it's Google Docs. You go to Google Docs, and when you pull it up, they have the header thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's tools, and you go to tools, and you click on text. I think it's text to talk, and you just
Ah,
talk, and so you just
yeah.
say it, and it types it out. Of course,
That's
you have to
good
go
to
back
know.
and edit
Right.
it,
And fix
whatever.
whatever.
But it's
Yeah.
you, especially with us, like we talk, right?
Yeah.
So I can talk my book faster than I can write it,
Right.
And so even if it's just getting the idea, like you got an idea for, oh yeah, I want to put this in it. And so you
Mm-hmm.
just speak that whole idea, you know what I'm saying? And then figure out later where you're going to put it at,
Right.
when you
Yeah.
actually go through and edit so once it types out, what I do or what I did, once it types out, then I copy the whole thing and I put it in Word.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I put it in Word, then I go through and make
Make
sure
your
it's full
edits.
sentences and do all that and edit it out. And then you can move things around. Like, okay, I want to put that story here or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and do that. So that I did I think two of the ebooks I did that way.
Yeah.
It was because it's just easier.
Yeah.
It's just
True.
easier. Unless you somebody that like to be like, but me, I'm like, look, I ain't got time.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, I don't know if I want to do like short stories that kind of tie in like my guests, or if
Mhm.
I want to just totally go away from the podcast and just somehow tie in like the title Color of Influence into like a different book.
Well, I think so when you're talking about books, especially when you're not an author, like
Right.
doing what you do, then I
Yeah.
think your first book should be kind of about yourself, right?
Okay.
So it can be, tie in even the change from going from the Black Girl blogger into Color of Influence. And so
Yeah.
kind of giving basically your podcast journey, right? Of this is where you
Mm.
started, and as you developed it, and
Yeah.
what were you going through during that time, and just telling that whole story of your journey with podcasting. Because that could be it, my journey of podcasting. You know what I
Right.
mean? Color
Yeah.
of Influence, my journey. And that can be the book, and just tell your story of your journey.
That's a good
And
idea.
it connects with you because it gives us an idea of who you are, because of course you talk about yourself and
Right.
introduce and tell a little bit about your personal story,
Mm-hmm.
and so that introduce us to you, but then it also ties into the podcast and whatever. And so when you promote it on the podcast, it's part of the story, so it fits
Yeah.
right in there. So
I like that idea. Yeah, because before I had the podcast, the reason why it was called the Black Girl Blogger is because I had a blog.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then I turned the blog like into the podcast. Um, so yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, that's such a good idea.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's all yours.
Yeah, so I like that. But so from here, I mean, we have what, 3 months left of the year.
Mm-hmm.
What are our goals for the podcast and for our ebooks and speaking and panels for the rest of the year?
So right now I really want to take a break from recording. So I've been recording so much at the time of this episode that we're recording now, I
Yeah.
think I have 3 months. No, it might be four. I think I have 4 months of recordings. That's how far
Wow.
ahead I am, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, because I was doing 3 a week, and I was
Got
getting
it.
back to back. So every week it was like boom, 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 and it's like, man. So I was recording 3 a week, but I'm only releasing 1 a week.
Right.
So that it adds up, and so right now it just happened that nobody called. Well, I had like 2 or 3 people, scheduled, but
Yeah.
nobody scheduled. And I'm like, cool, I'm fine with that. I need a break, So I want to take a short break from recording.
Yeah.
But the episodes will still be consistent. I'll still be
Right.
putting out an episode every week. But so during this time, I really want to focus on the speaking and
Hmm.
finishing my book because I did start a book, start my physical book, um,
Okay.
but I want to finish that. So that's one of the things I definitely want to get that finished, and then push more into the speaking engagements. And so my goal, my vision that I would like to have is to do at least 2 speaking engagements before the end of the year.
Okay.
So that's my goal, and I also have my website up and things, of that in order,
Right.
by then. So that's what I'm looking for. I want to do a sale with the ebooks um, for Black Friday. So my
Okay.
ebooks
Yeah.
generally is about around $20. So I want
Hmm.
to do like November 1st, do like a $5 sale, and then on Black Friday do a $10 sale, right?
Okay.
For
Yeah.
the ebooks. So see how that goes.
Yeah.
So, but the ebooks is good because it's digital. So once you
Yeah.
create it, it's created.
Right. And you don't have to do
So
anything
whatever,
else.
yeah. So whatever after your initial investment into getting it done and
Hmm.
finishing it, then anything after that is profit. So uh,
Right.
definitely going to push the ebooks. But so that's where I'm at. That's what I want to do. Like I said, get into more speaking gigs. So my overall goal
Hmm.
um, is to keep the podcast, definitely grow the podcast to as big as it can go,
Right.
and do speaking events. So have my own speaking events, and then do some more writing with the ebooks and maybe even some more physical books. So that's my triangle for my business
Right.
is podcasting, speaking, and writing, and live events. So whether
Right.
but that kind of go with speaking and podcasting, sort of. It all kind of fits together.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's the vision. That's the vision.
So now for your physical book, real quick, how are you publishing? Are you doing self-published or are you finding a publisher?
I think I'm gonna do self-publish.
Okay.
I was looking at a company that you kind of design it yourself and then they make it
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So I was kind of looking into that. I think
Okay.
that's the way I'm gonna go. Just because it's cheaper that way and it's less headache for me.
Yeah.
Then to do a big publisher to pay somebody, like a large publisher, I think they want so much money up front.
Yeah.
With the print on demand companies, which is what I was looking into,
Mm-hmm.
you can order once you get your initial, you know, get the book done. Of course, you're gonna want a couple copies of your initial one anyway.
Right.
But I don't think, at least with the company that I was looking at, I don't think it's a minimum that you can get. Maybe less than 100 or something like that. But I think it's a low minimum. But
Yeah.
with a big major publisher, I think they would want you to buy like a bulk. And it's like,
Amount.
look,
Yeah.
I'm not, I ain't speaking like that yet. You know what I mean? You have a whole garage full of books. You know?
Yeah. No, I hear you.
So yeah, so I want to go with the self publisher and the should I say print on demand
Right.
publisher. And then if I need some, I order a good 100 just to have on hand. and
Right.
and I think they even the one I was thinking about. I think they even have a way that I think maybe it's just a link. I'm thinking I have to look into it to make sure, but I think they have like a link where you can promote it
Mm-hmm.
and whoever, like somebody orders it, they can just go to that link and then they will do everything.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they ain't got to send it to me, then I send it
Right.
to them. They can go straight to them and pay for it or whatever, and they will pack it, make it, pack it, and ship it, and send me the difference of or my cut out
Right.
of
Of whatever it is.
sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I ain't got that.
Okay, cool.
So that's what I
Yeah.
want to do. I'm trying to be as hands off as possible. Going into trying to get these 7 streams of income, that whole
Yeah.
story. So like whatever I don't have to work to do, besides running my mouth, because that's what I like to do.
I hear that. Well, that sounds like a plan. Um, Definitely when you have your sale in November, post it on Instagram. I'm more on Instagram than Facebook, and then I can repost it for you.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
Definitely want to help promote your books and hopefully get something going with my own brain
Right.
here soon to write something. But I appreciate you taking the time this evening. Thank you for all the information because I am definitely going to use some of what we talked about. But before we go, tell everybody how they can find you.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I'm always excited to be a guest. I still get excited, which as many people I had on since I still get excited when I get a chance to be on somebody else's platform. So definitely thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
For having me on and for being a guest also. And I have to have you back on and we do an episode with just me and you and really
Yeah.
get into, what you got going on and stuff. And but thank you. But everyone can find me at Deal to Heal with E. James podcast.
Okay.
Facebook, on Instagram, definitely on YouTube, where you get all the episodes, all the video episodes are on YouTube, so you get the full episodes. And plus you get my guest episodes too, as a guest.
Okay.
So like whenever I'm a guest on another episode on another platform and they put it out on YouTube, I make sure that I've also posted it on my YouTube page.
Oh, good.
So, they give me on my podcast, but then
Yeah.
when I'm a guest on other podcasts, they're able to catch me there too. But yeah, Deal to Heal with E. James podcast on most of your social media platforms. You'll find me there. Also, with other things I have going on, I got the Deal to Heal tees, which is my t-shirt line. You can't really see this one, but it's on say Deal, Heal, Fulfill, which is deal with your problems, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose, which is what my mission is,
Right.
to help people do. We got the ebooks by ejames.com, which is the ebooks. And that's what I'm doing right now. And hopefully, if you guys want to, you can email me as far as to be a speaker or be a part of something that you have. And we're doing virtual events. Earnest James at dealhealfulfill.org. O-R-G. That's where you can find me. And keep that dealhealfulfill.org, because that website should be up soon. And yeah, that's where you can find me at.
All right, sounds good. Well, again, Ernest, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I really appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap on another amazing episode. I know that you were just as inspired as I was after listening to that conversation. And to let us know how we're doing, don't forget to leave us a review, like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also follow us on all social media platforms, from YouTube to Facebook, at The Color of Influence, and on Instagram, the_color_of_influence. You can check out all of our episodes and additional content on our website, thecolorofinfluence.com. And that's an N only for influence. And don't forget to share the podcast with someone you know and have them share the podcast with someone they know. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, peace out.